When I was 6 years old, Mega Man Battle Network taught me that the future of technology meant that I could teleport into the computer and then fight off viruses as Mega Man. Now I'm 26 years old and I'm being force-fed content like this. AI and hardware inflation have arrived, unfortunately, and it's just another big reminder that we fight not with flesh and blood, but with principalities and evil in corrupt high places. And I'm gonna attempt to cut through this noise today about how the future of technology sucks by talking about the one thing that brings that mid-2000s, 2010s level excitement about technology back into my soul. And this one thing that gets me hyped is the fact that everything is turning into a Steam Deck. There has been a huge wave lately of mobile gaming, Android gaming, and just so many other things running and utilizing emulation to play all of our Steam games. And there's one device that I've been messing around with that really solidified this evolution for me, the Retroid Pocket 6. Obviously, this is not a Steam Deck, and I'm not gonna lie to you and tell you that it's the same thing. But the fact that it's even in the conversation at all, and it's this small and less than half the price of an actual Steam Deck OLED, it just tingles me. And the timing of this is just wild because you can't even buy a Steam Deck right now. They're out of stock. So it does beg the question, can something this small and much more affordable fill any part of the massive void that the Steam Deck has caused? But wait. Oh no, I think my grandma's outside again.
They say the future is digital, but my knees still analog. Everybody's online, but these hands make sure you stay in line. I survived way 2K. You think I care about AI? We used to blow cartridges and pray to God. My backlog is so big, I gotta put games in the will. Back in my day, hanging something on the wall required tools. Now it requires stickers.
Thank you to Displate for sponsoring today's video. Displates are literally just metal posters that stick to the wall, and that's it. You don't have to use any tools, and it's so easy to set up. Now I'm letting my brother Alan get his own Displates.
The Displates. This is for Cyberpunk. This is the full tarot card.
It's as easy as putting on a single sticker. Yeah, get a nice zoom in on that. You see that? And if you ever want to take it off, you just peel off the sticker. And there you have it, 4 pieces. And it has completed the tarot card. Dang. How we feeling?
It's clean, man.
If you think these look sick and want them yourself, then you can scan this QR code or use my link in the description and get up to 36% off on your order and start making your setup look nice, metally, and really just better. Thank you to Display for sponsoring this video, and we can get back to the video. Okay, I know I said I was trying not to be negative in this video, but I gotta complain for just 2 minutes. Just a few days ago, I was browsing the internet trying to buy a NAS system, like a home server. I wanted to build my own Google Drive and iCloud storage because I'm tired of paying subscriptions and I need a place to store my wife's sexy photos. I didn't know that this was just the enclosure, dude. So then I realized I needed to buy some hard drives for this whole thing to work. And then I looked at the price of hard drives and I lost it. Look, I'm sorry, Appa, you're just too expensive. And I really, really hate paying for iCloud and all those subscriptions. So good luck out there, man. Good luck. Good luck. I'll see you on the other side. Another sad part about this hardware inflation stuff isn't just my continued reliance on subscription model pricing, but also the fact that Valve's hardware has been delayed to an eternity. Valve announced a bunch of newer hardware that was marketed to be an open ecosystem, and genuinely, when I first saw this, I was like, wow, this is going to be a complete game changer. but then Will Smith eating spaghetti attacked. It feels like we're trapped in this house that's been bolted shut. There's no way of escaping, and the city is just getting destroyed actively. But if Will Smith eating spaghetti is King Ghidorah in this situation, then your Android handheld is Godzilla fighting back. The Retroid Pocket 6 right here is what inspired this entire video. It's the newest flagship from Retroid, and instead of it looking like a Steam Deck Mini, it's definitely got more of like a modern PSP kind of vibe. These guys are legends in the retro handheld space. They usually make the most recommended devices with relatively high-end specs, but without reaching like actual Steam Deck level price tags. This is the silver model, and it feels pretty great. We've got better ergonomics than the previous RP5 with like bigger bumps in the back, quieter buttons, which was a bit of a pet peeve of mine on the original, and then a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 upgrade with a 120 Hz 5.5 inch OLED screen. I love me some 5.5 inches. What's really cool is that Retroid also lets you pick if you want the stick or the D-pad on top, which is the first time that they've done this, and I went with the stick on top because, you know, most people buy these for retro emulation, but when I first saw this, I was like, hold on a second. Is this my Steam Deck Mini? Because of the insane work being done on Android translation layers, the line between a Steam Deck and an Android handheld is starting to blur a little bit here. You've probably already heard of Gamehub or GameNative at this point. These are Android-based apps that give you full access to your Steam library, allowing you to connect to it and then download your Steam games and play them natively on your device. You could do this on literally any Android device, even if you have an Android phone. You could download Steam games right this second. But this is the first time I'm personally seeing this entire ecosystem shrink down into a candy bar form factor with a flagship processor like this one from the RP6. And honestly, once everything gets set up in this type of form factor, it is exciting. Playing Steam games that are lightweight enough to run well on this thing gives you an experience that is incredible, dude. I'm telling you, this is exactly why I've always thought that a Steam Deck Mini or a Steam Deck Lite would sell really well, or just for the right person, you hit that exact area that they're lacking because of how big the original Steam Deck is. And honestly, just every handheld nowadays is becoming more and more massive. And most of the games that I play on my actual Steam Deck are just lightweight indie titles anyway. This thing is a machine for destroying roguelikes and smaller types of games that I don't have to worry about the frame rate. And while not all of them run perfectly here on the Retroid Pocket 6, when you come across a game that does, it feels like the definitive way to play that game. Because this way, I don't have to buy a giant pillow to hold up my hands. I'm sure at this point you've seen the same 4 games every single time when somebody talks about Steam on Android. Hollow Knight, Megabonk, Balatro, all of the front runners of these lightweight indie games are so fun to show off because they show you that, hey, this is some serious stuff. But on top of the obvious, there are 2 main examples that I really want to show you that showcase, in my eyes, why this is special in the first place. Up first, we've got a sequel to a classic, Slay the Spire 2. This game isn't even officially out. It's still in early access. And, most of the time with things like this on Android or on mobile devices, you have to wait until the devs want to actually port it over onto Android and give you a release on the App Store. And that's assuming that these devs even want to do that and put their game next to block crazy Robo Worldcraft.
This is just Minecraft. How are they getting away with this?
Obviously, this game isn't available on the Play Store yet, but here I can download it onto my device and play the game natively. And it's still in early access, and I'm not repurchasing it on the App Store. It just really messes with my brain, dude. I'm able to play a brand new early access game on my small pocketable device that isn't a Steam Deck and doesn't run SteamOS. Like, what reality are we in? And the second game I want to highlight here is a game that my friend just put me onto, and it's another roguelike, and it's called The Vital Shell. It's very similar to Megabonk and Vampire Survivors, but instead you play as a mech, and it's all in this PS1 era style graphics, which is very nostalgic to look at, and you run around blowing everything up, and there's just a bunch of break beats that are playing in the background. It's awesome. And the reason why I bring this up is because it's a very niche game that's a lightweight indie game. And, you know, I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this, and not even GameNative knows if this is compatible or not. But I was still able to download it, launch it, and play it absolutely perfectly out of the box. Playing these types of games is pretty much everything I would ask for out of a mini Steam Deck, dude. Just give me my PS1 mech shooters and break beats, and I'm a happy camper. I definitely don't want to oversell this device and just Android handhelds in general. Like, you're going to, majority of the time, just run into issues. Steam games, at least for me in my experience, are still very hit or miss on either Gamehub Lite or GameNative. Even something super lightweight like Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection that I have on my Steam library doesn't even launch on either platforms, and that's like a port of a GBA game. I don't know what the problem is. And there are some games that will load and will launch, but they're just so demanding that you're either going to need the most powerful Android handheld on the market to run, or you could just I mean, stream it. That's also an option. You might need to get something like the Odin 3, like max version, to run some of these games that are AAA. But then, you know, at that point, I might be in the minority here, but I just think that if you're spending like $400 to $500 on an Android handheld, like, that's just insane, dude. I don't know. Like, I'm seeing these dudes get 30 FPS in Elden Ring, and it looks really cool, and it's something to marvel at. But in my head, I'm just like, if somebody actually plays through all of Elden Ring on an Odin 3, I don't even have any words. Like, if you beat Cyberpunk with 15 frames, dude, you're a menace to society. You need to be like put under watch or something, dude. What is really cool though is that new resources and tools to get more frames are popping up left and right. Things like EmuReady is a newer resource that I haven't seen before tackling this video, and it's great. It's a resource where you can look up and specifically type in your device and your CPU, and then get other people who are showing you different types of games that they've tried and tested, and whether or not it's playable or a good experience. And newer drivers and updates do come out for these things, and there's always like some new technology that will give you a better experience, which is very exciting. And a lot of times you will be surprised at how big of a difference these settings and this community can help you get a better experience. So yes, this modern PSP or any Android handheld is pretty dang sick, but does it fill the void that the Steam Deck has caused, or at least give us a Steam Deck Mini? No. But to play devil's advocate here, I definitely think we're past the point of Windows emulation where we're just viewing it as a cute little side experiment, and it's now a legitimate way to consume these Steam games. Because so many titles are at a point where they're enjoyable on these types of devices. It's no longer, you know, haha, look what I got running on my goofy Android devices. It's just like, dude, I'm playing GTA 5 on my phone now. It's absolutely not at a point where you should just drop cash with your sole intention being to play Steam games on these devices. We're not there yet. But if you consider all of the other use cases for an Android device like the RP6, you know, it becomes a lot more compelling. First and foremost, these are retro gaming machines. They will knock almost any retro game out of the park on any given emulator up to and including PS2. But there is an area that I feel like a lot of people easily overlook on these Android devices, and it's simply just the Google Play Store. Now, huge, giant warning here, the Google Play Store and the App Store they're the worst, dude. Finding any games on these platforms or anything of quality is so difficult, dude. You gotta swim through like Arkansas honky tonk Ozark levels of mud just to get to a quality product. But I have been seeing a lot of legitimate ports here lately. You know, you've got Balatro, Dead Cells has always been a classic, Subnautica Below Zero just got ported over here, Ball Pit is also on the Google Play Store, and there's even a port of Where Winds Meet, which looks insane for an Android game. There's definitely some good options here, and I'm hoping that as the popularity of these Android devices continues to explode, like we've seen with something like the Ein Thor, then developers will be more incentivized to port their games over to Android because, you know, all of us have these goofy little handhelds now. It's still a total disaster on the storefront, though. I do not envy anybody who has to figure out how to market their product on these app stores. It's so bad, dude. You're competing for attention against the most heinous applications on the planet.
Nightclub simulator. And then the fourth picture is this. This is actually wild. You're telling me children are playing this?
So finally, when you stack up Android gaming and then high-end retro emulation, even game streaming for high-end stuff with all of the Gamehub Lite GameNative Steam games, this is pretty good. I still refuse to call any of these like a Steam Deck Mini, but I would definitely say we've gotten to the point where it's a Steam Deck Mini Lite. PSP thing. I don't know. And we're lucky enough to see this slowly evolve and change over time, dude. I remember, 5 years ago what a retro handheld looked like. And, I don't really want to go back there. I think the reason we all love technology in the mid-2000s and even 2010s is because we were witnessing the evolution. We could see things change every single iteration of each device. And nowadays, it's just a lot harder to get excited about the tiniest little nuance of details that are changing and still asking for more money. I don't know why, but my brain is like thinking about the Wii U when I'm talking about evolution of technology. Even though people hated that thing, I always kind of liked it because it felt very quirky and it had a lot of charm to it, even though it was definitely, like the middle child between where Nintendo wanted to go with the Switch. But these awkward phases of technology bring all of the charm and personality, and that's where I think we're about to be at, if not already, with these retro handhelds. And in a world full of AI doom and inflating prices, I'll take awkward and exciting any day of the week.
She know nothing about me, know nothing about me. I want her around me, maybe she could love me. She got that honey skin, making me fall again. I wanna see her win, beauty like that is sin. She know nothing.